Does crocheting an I-cord make you absolutely want to scream, or is it just me? As an expert level crocheter and professional crochet designer, I can tell you, you're not alone. Even I get frustrated when I'm trying to make an I-cord the way we're supposed to be able to with a crochet hook. Before we hop in, don't forget to like this video, comment below with any questions that you have about I-cord making, and subscribe to the channel for future educational crochet content. In honor of my Macy Maxi skirt design, the pattern comes out for this next Friday, August 15th, I'm going to show you 4 different ways to make yourself an I-cord. The first is that awful way with a crochet hook. It's very challenging, but maybe you like a challenge. Then I'll show you an easier option with a crochet hook. Then I'll show you how to use this old wooden spool to make yourself an I-cord. And then these are all the rage on the internet lately. What are these called? They're 3 latch hooks on a 3D printed handle, an I-cord maker, simplifying the I-cord game. I want to talk a little more specifically about this tool because this tool is actually something I got from my great-grandmother when I was a young child, and I'm pretty sure she got my dad to put those nails in the top of it. And this is a old thread spool from God knows when that she had saved, and she and I used to make I-cords together. I didn't know they were called I-cords at the time, and we would make hot plates with them by curling them together and sewing them in a spiral like a snail. My great-grandmother called this corking, but I've since learned that most people call it French knitting or spool knitting or mini loom knitting, and most recently on a little Google search, I learned that some people call this tomboy knitting. All right, let me show you those 4 ways to make an I-cord. For a traditional I-cord, you need a crochet hook, yarn, scissors, and a darning needle. For this I-cord, I recommend using a straight hook, not a tapered hook, as it will keep your I-cord more consistent and it will make it easier to make, even though it's hard to make. You'll start by creating a slip knot. Insert your hook into the slip knot, and then you're going to chain 3 or 4. 4 will create a thicker or chunkier looking I-cord. I'm just doing 3 because that's the classic way to do it. Then you'll begin by pulling up a loop in the second chain from your hook and the first chain. You should now have 3 loops on your hook. And this is where it gets tricky. You're going to put those first 2 loops just out in the wind off your hook. Yarn over and chain through that 1 loop. Then you insert your hook back into that second loop and chain, and then into that third loop and chain. And that's 1 row of an I-cord. You just continue to repeat this process where you let the 2 loops off and chain 1, insert into the next one, chain 1, insert into the next one, chain 1 until you get the I-cord length you want, or until you absolutely lose your mind in frustration, like I do every time. Your I-cord will look similar to this when you're done. You might have a little what's called laddering up the back. If you just tug the ends of the I-cord, it'll even that back out. To fasten off, I just cut my end. Not like that. I cut my end, then I yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but that's how I do it and it works for me. Then I just use my darning needle to weave those ends in through the center of the I-cord like this. And there's a teeny tiny little I-cord. You can make this as long as you want. Now here's a way easier way to use your crochet hook to make an I-cord. Measure out 3 times the length of the I-cord you want and leave that as a tail. Create your slip knot and put it over your hook. Now you've got 2 strands of yarn that you're going to work with. Begin by yarning under with 1 strand and yarning over with the other, and then pull through both the loops on your hook. Then you just repeat this process, yarn under, yarn over, pull through until you get the I-cord length that you want. The I-cord this creates is a little thin and kind of resembles foundation single crochet stitches. To fasten off, cut both ends and pull through the loop that's on your hook. With this I-cord, you'll end up with both tails at the same end of your I-cord, so you'll have to weave them in together, again, as best you can through the center of your I-cord. And that's mini I-cord number 2. Isn't she cute? Next up is French knitting, spool knitting, corking, mini loom. Mine has 4 pegs on it. Some will have 3, and that'll create that traditional I-cord for you, and some will have more. The more pegs there are, the thicker the I-cord will be. To make this I-cord, you'll also need a pick. You can also use a knitting needle or a crochet hook here, a darning needle, and of course some snips. To begin, feed your yarn through your darning needle and put the darning needle through the hole in your spool or in your loom. To begin, you'll wrap the yarn around each peg in a clockwise motion, but you'll do the pegs in counterclockwise order. So wrap it around each peg like this, and you're going to do that twice. Now you can see I've used my thumb here to help secure the yarn so that the yarn doesn't pop off. I am also securing the tail of the yarn using my pinky at the bottom of the spool to make sure that it doesn't come loose and therefore that the stitches don't pop off the spool. Once you have gone around each peg twice, you will bring your yarn back to the outside of the pegs, like so. Then you're going to use your pick and you'll pick up the loop that is underneath each one and lift it up and over, beginning with the first peg. Pick that bottom piece of yarn up and lift it over the peg. You can tug on the tail to keep things nice and low and tight and secure the working yarn with your other hand. So you grab that one that's on the bottom, bring it up and over. And you complete that all the way around. Once you have completed this all the way around, all 4 pegs are now secure and you can begin doing this how you're going to do it for the entire I-cord. All 4 are done, so you kind of twirl the spool with your working yarn going above the stitches that are on the pegs. Then the stitches that are on the pegs you lift up and over your working yarn. And you just continue to do this in order until your I-cord is the length that you want it or need it to be. Eventually, it'll start poking its head out the bottom of the spool. When you're measuring to determine how long your I-cord is, make sure that you consider the length of the spool as well, as the I-cord is running through the whole spool. To fasten off, trim your end. I gotta get some new scissors. And you can either use your darning needle and weave your yarn tail through each of the loops, pulling it all the way through, or let me show you the way to do it the traditional way. You're going to start with lifting your most recently created stitch up and over 1 stitch back. Then that second stitch, you're going to lift up and over the top of that stitch. Repeat this process around. Lift that stitch up and place it on the peg previous, and then lift the stitch that's underneath it up and over. And you have to repeat it one more time if you have 4 pegs. Repeat this for as many pegs as you have on your spool. When you reach the last one, you'll repeat the process of lifting the bottom stitch up and over, and then with the 1 stitch that remains on the peg, you'll just pull that yarn through. And that's it. That is French knitting, corking, tomboy knitting, spool knitting, mini loom knitting to make an I-cord. Then again, you'll just need to weave in those ends through the center of the I-cord. For those wondering, yes, this is the way that I make my I-cords when I incorporate them into my designs. Then we have the viral tool that's all the rage, the I-cord maker, where you have 3 latch hooks put onto some kind of handle. Mine is from Odd Cat Yarns and it's called the Odd Paw, and I've linked it in the description below for anyone who wants the same one as me. To begin, make sure that all of the latches are open. The first round, you are just going to work over 2 of them, and I'll show you how. So with your yarn, you'll go over the first hook, under the second one, and over the third, making sure you're below those latches, and then just tie a loose single knot in the back, like so. To know if you've done it right, hold both the yarn tails out and look, does it create a cute little heart? You did it. Next, I pinched the tail of the yarn in my other hand, and you're going to take the working yarn and go over all 3 hooks. You'll then bring the yarn forward, and this time only the first and the third latch will close and pull a stitch over. The second one will not. That's okay. Now you have a stitch on all 3 loops. Make sure all 3 latches are open and that your stitches are past those latches. You yarn over again and pull it back over. It's a little tricky for the first couple of rounds, but it gets easier. Yarn over all 3 hooks and pull through, making sure between each stitch you bring your stitches down past the latches, like I didn't do there. See, you need them to go past the latches in order for the latches to pull forward and for the stitches to go off the end. You then just repeat this process until that I-cord is the length that you want it or need it to be. To fasten off, you'll take the third loop and put it over the second hook, making sure that both the loops that are on that second hook go down past the latch. Then you will yarn over just the 2 hooks and pull those stitches off. Now you only have 2 stitches. Now you'll take the first loop and put it over the second hook, yarn over the second hook only, and pull that stitch through. Then you just need to snip your yarn and pull through that loop. You may find that the start of your I-cord does not look cute like this. How you fix that? Pull on that tail. It'll pull it nice and tight. Then you just use your darning needle to weave those ends back in, and that's how you use an I-cord maker. Those are the 4 ways that I know how to crochet an I-cord. I hope that you learned something today. If you did, leave a comment below and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for future educational crochet content. Happy crocheting! See you soon.